So once again, a very good morning to all of you people. I myself, the Siddharth, the trainer for this training program, and I'm going to introduce myself. So I would request you because there is a background noise happening. So can you please consider this as my kind request? Okay, fine, thank you. So as I mentioned, I have about 10 plus years of working experience. I'm a certified MLOps engineer on AWS, Azure, and GCP cloud platform. And I've been currently designated to the US company where I have been working as an MLOps engineer. So that's about myself. And the next part of the session, I'm going to go ahead and discuss the various strategies and organization policies that get implemented to have the MLOps. So before that, I would like to ask a question to all of you. That participants, have you heard about any time called DevOps before? If the answer is yes, please go ahead and give me a confirmation into the chat by typing yes. If the answer is no, you can even type in no. Before I get started, I have a question for all of you. So I have received the questions, I have received the answers. Yes, 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 and there is one answer as no. Fine. There's no wrong in mentioning as no, and there is nothing about yes or no. The point that I want to highlight here is if you look into the world of MLOps, this is a very new subject. This is a very new concept. But if you look at the fundamentals of it, the fundamentals are everything derived from the idea of DevOps. So that was the reason I asked you if you are aware of DevOps. Okay, fine. Once again, thank you very much for your responses. So let's continue. Now, to understand this, let me take a step further and let me go do one thing for you. Let me go ahead and give you a survey. So participants, there was a survey that was done across certain people who are into machine learning, they are into model development, data scientists. So they've taken some survey. And that survey they asked is, what is the amount of time that you spend to get the models that they develop? What is meant by a model? Model is nothing but for now, the one that does a job. For example, you might have seen by writing text, you convert into an image. That's basically a model. The best answer that I can give you is participants, the best model that on date that we have is of that is nothing but a chat GPT. The chat GPT is nothing but an LLM model. What is LLM model? Large language models. LLM model. Very well known, well established model. Now the point is, if this is one model, I can give you 100 other models. Like, you can turn your text that what you want to write to speech or to images. That means the moment you go ahead and pass a text, it can go ahead and take your text and convert into an images. This is also a model. Image is taken from you. The image, or sorry, the other way it is. I given you the other way. Text to images, AI generators. So it does go ahead and understand your input in the form of an image. Let's say I want to have a image of a shark in oceans. This is a image that I want to go and give, and I want to generate it. So what happens? It will go ahead and take as an input, and it is expected to generate an output. See, it has generated an output for it. So the point is not that I'm interested in shark or I'm expecting it. The concept is how this model, this machine learning model, has taken an input in the form of a text and gave me an output. And for this, it has to go and generate it, and you are getting an outcome. So participants, did you understand a very simple definition of a word called model? A model is something that will go ahead and take your input and gives you an outcome. Everyone are with me, participants? Hello? The best
Yeah, yes.
example I gave you, I gave an input, it gave me an output. What is the input I gave? I need to see a shark in the oceans. I got an output in the form of an image. Not audible? How about now, people? Am I audible?
Yes, Adam.
Right. So, participants, the way that I want you to define or the way that I want you to understand is the word model. A model is nothing but, you can understand for now, a code, a piece of code, maybe 100 lines, 1000 lines, some 10,000 lines of code that is written to do a particular job. In this current scenario, as an example I gave you, when I go ahead and did pass an input in the form of a shark in the oceans, it gave me an output in the form of an image. That's what I'm expecting. So this is what basically a model does. One of the concept of a machine learning model involving image classification. So I want to go ahead and take that image and I want to go ahead and get that image generated, image generation, audio generation, video generation model. So every model has some kind of role. Now let's not worry about these models that am I going to go ahead and write the code for it? The answer is you will not be writing the code for it. MLOps engineer is not that. So what exactly is MLOps engineer? Let's go ahead and break it down. So to make this understand, they've done a survey that who are actually writing this code. There are people who actually write the code. So that person we call it, I'm going to call it as a developer or ML developer, machine learning engineer, machine learning model developer, ML model developer. I'll go ahead and call. So they done a survey among those people who are writing the code and asked how much of time is spent deploying that model. Now, this is more important for an MLOps engineer like you and me. So, participants, what is this deployment word? Deployment means you are making the model to run inside a server like a cloud server or in your machine. You make it to deploy somewhere, you make it to run. So 36% of the people said it takes almost a quarter for them, another quarter to half to 3 quarters, or more than 3 quarters. So ultimately, we can go ahead and say it takes more than a quarter to go ahead and get a model developed and built into production. Now, why is that this time gap is happening? This time gap is happening because there are a lot of companies, there are a lot of products that are very much busy in developing the models. See, if a company like X, like deepai.org is a company, they have built a model. But in order to go ahead and deploy that model, they need specialists like machine learning engineers who can deploy this code and bring the concepts of DevOps to deploy it. That's how the word MLOps came into picture. So if you go ahead and look into the word of MLOps, MLOps basically comprises of two keywords, ML and Ops. So what is this definition that I wanted to go ahead and bring to you is this, people. So the idea of machine learning engineer MLOps basically comprises of two keywords. What are those two keywords? ML. ML is what? Machine learning model that is expected. Okay, and Ops focuses on deploy. For now, you go ahead and give a name called deployment. I want to deploy that model. Where you want to deploy? In a cloud server or somewhere inside your environment, somewhere you want to deploy it. So the most important thing is you will not be developing the model, but you will focus on the ops part of it, operations part of it. That means you take that model, you deploy that model, you check the status of the model. Is the model working as expected? Is there any issue with that model? The servers are running good. The servers are responding. The requests are being taken out. Scaling is taken out. So this is what the role of a MLOps engineer is. So participants, now you understood what is the MLOps concept. The MLOps concept is driven by two things: machine learning model ML and the deployment that is targeted to deploy that machine learning model ML. So that's how the word MLOps came into picture. If you have understood the definition, can I see your confirmation in the chat so that I can proceed to the next part of the discussion for the MLOps? Participants, am I good? Inzamam says yes. Rusty says yes. Arvind, Fazal, Mayur. Participants, how about other people? So you did not understand the definition of MLOps? See, if you go ahead and ask, if you go ahead and see on the internet, you will get tons of pages, hundreds of thousands of pages. I don't want to go ahead and spend time on that way. I wanted to go ahead and give you a very simple definition that everybody understands. So that is the reason I break down MLOps into two parts. One, ML, where you have a model. Maybe that model will go ahead and turn your text into an image. Like in our example, I showed you how did I go ahead and pass an text created. And if I have to go ahead and take this model, where I have to deploy it in a cloud machine like AWS cloud or Azure or GCP cloud. I have to deploy it. So how it is made possible is something is a agenda for our discussion. So what is how it is made possible to develop a model and how they deploy it is something we will go ahead and discuss. So to understand this model, we need to understand the various stages to develop a model. First, on the left hand side of the screen, you see here on the top side, not on the left side, top side, you see there is a cycle that I've given. So in this cycle, you need to go ahead and understand on the left hand side, which is in color blue, is pure. Yes, please. Yeah, that is on the colors, which is in blue, is purely targeting machine learning code. What is that? The machine learning focuses on the blue color that you see here. I will represent what I am highlighting. So this part is going to be representing your machine learning. Idea is model development that you are trying to, or you can call it as that focuses on development activities. So this is all about developing the code. You develop a particular code. And the other part of the code focuses on what? The other part of the code, the other part that you see here focuses on the deployment part, the yellow part, the orange part, not yellow, sorry, the orange part. You deploy it, you make it inference. The inference means you go ahead and access it. You make it available on an endpoint so that people can access it. You infer from the model. So the point is, when we can go ahead and take the different stages to develop the model and to deploy that model, there are two people coming into picture. Who are those two people? ML engineers who develop the model and the ops engineers who deploy that model. Am I correct, participants? So there are two people involved. Now, what are those two people? The two people that are involved are following. So the first person is an ML engineer who will develop the model. That means who will write the code for the model. And the ops engineer is the one who deploys that model. So that was the primary concept that I'm driving every time when I define the model MLOps and when I define the concept of MLOps. MLOps mean a process that basically brings two different set of people. One, machine learning engineers who write the code, how to go ahead and turn text into a shark, how to go ahead and turn a image into a text. So this is what source code, the developers write it. Where an ops guy who deploys that code. Now these are two different skills. Why? Because you cannot go ahead and spend all the time in developing. We cannot always spend the time in deploying. Unless until the developers write the code, then only the deployment will take place. So we need to go ahead and understand two different things. One, machine learning development and the deployment. Now participants, If you go ahead and try to understand the concepts, you need to understand a little about machine learning, how machine learning takes place, because you need to understand the stages in it. So to make you understand the stages, let me go ahead and give you some insights about the concepts of MLOps. So to understand this, let me go ahead and give you what exactly, basically, give me 1 second. I see some of the messages. Yes. Now, what exactly going to happen in a model development? What exactly happens in the model development? Let me give you a very simple use case. Let me go ahead and give you a data set that is very popular. Let me go ahead and give you this data set. For example, taxi data set, New York taxi. So let's assume that I have a company called New York taxi data set. I am the company owner and I want to go ahead and. So this New York taxi data set is available. Now I call machine learning engineers and say, hey, machine learning engineers, we want to go ahead and build a model that should go ahead and predict that what is the best route that a passenger should take from point A to point B with a profitable margin. That means based upon the distance that they travel, we want to go ahead and build that model. So if you go ahead and look at the data sets, New York taxi data set, we want to go ahead and see the previous data sets. So the previous data sets are available here. The previous data sets are available. So what I'll do, I'll show you one of a previously available data set. So this is what data is called as. Data means the live data that is available. So there is a data set that I'm having, which is yellow taxi data set. So in order to go ahead and develop a model, I'll call my machine learning engineers and say, hey, we are a taxi company where we pick up passengers from their location and drop them at that location. So what we want machine learning engineers is to develop a model that can go ahead and do a prediction about the expected fare price for the passengers. That means passengers should know from point A to point B how much is the distance. So it's about 5 kilometers. So for the 5 kilometers, this is the expected price. I want to go ahead and tell to my customer before he books it. Maybe it is going to cost him something like, say, 500 rupees, 500 INR. So how will I go ahead and tell based upon the previous data that when people have driven from point A to point B, what was the price that was given? So based upon this, I should be able to go ahead and tell. So for this, we need to collect the data, the stage one. Participants, are you with me, everyone?
Yes, Siddharth.
Yes.
Okay, so I was on mute, apologies. So participants, let me go ahead and tell you in this way. Now, let's say you want to go ahead and tell to your customers that if you take taxi from, I stay in Bangalore. So from Bangalore to Marthahalli towards Airport Road, it cost me something around 1,000 bucks. So if someone from Marthahalli picks from point A and gets dropped at point location B at Old Airport Road, 1,000 bucks is something that I know because I have already traveled. But how does machine know? Machine will not know anything. In order to go ahead and do, we have to tell to the machine, hey machine, we have hundreds of thousands of booking every day. You look at the data of these hundreds of thousands of booking. From this, you learn if someone picks from Marthahalli point A and gets dropped at point B, Vartur Road, it costs them 1,000 bucks. So what will machine will memorize? Okay, point A to point B, if a point is taken from point A, which is Marthahalli, and getting dropped at Vartur Road or at the old airport road, sorry, new airport, Kempagoda Airport, new Majestic Airport, then it will cost me some $1,000 airport. So this is what exactly I'm also going to highlight, is that if that is given to me, that is given in the form of data. We call it as data. Data is what? The data that is going to help me to go ahead and see what are the previous trips that customers have taken. Let me show you. So for this, uh, let me go ahead and try to show you. So for this, give me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and show you via the Apache Spark. Give me a couple of seconds. Spark. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you now how to go ahead and read the data. Just 30 seconds, please. So I would start the session and show you how the data is going to look like. So this is what developers do. They start the session and the taxi data is equal to Spark Baba. Read the data from the Spark file, please. From data folder. What is the name of that file? I'll go ahead and use the same name. Don't worry, this is not coding program, so don't worry about it. I'm trying to show you the data. I just want to show you the data. So data from yellow taxi. Okay, data set. So I try to read the data. Now see the taxi data. You'll get to see clear picture about it. Or let me show you the data so that it will give you the list of it. So why did I go ahead and get this data for you? The reason why did I get this data is something that you can see here. What is a pickup date? What is a drop off date? What, how many number of passengers did they travel? What is the trip distance that it has taken? What is the rate code? What is the location? What is the airport fees? What is the total fare amount? What is the tip amount? All this information. So let's see, can we just only take few columns out of 5, so it will be easy for me to show also. Okay, so the first, Sayed Baba, can you please mute yourself for a few minutes? Okay, now that we have the first 5 columns that we have been able to go ahead and pull it out. Now, this kind of data, what we do, we go ahead and give it to the model. So, what model will do? Model will go ahead and start training itself. Okay, it will start training. What does that training means? It will go ahead and record all of this data and start storing this information in the logic. But how much information it will store, it cannot go ahead and store it. Now, what machine learning developers they do is they will go ahead and say, hey, can we go ahead and develop some kind of function? Function means, I'll give you an example. So, based upon this data, they want to go ahead and say, hey, what is the predicted underscore taxi fare should be how many times? Like, is it 2 times the total distance plus some value, some 100 as a number? That means I want to go ahead and develop a function that should go ahead and say the price that you go ahead and take is 2 times the distance. Let's say the distance is 5 kilometers. 2 times 5, which is 100. 100 plus another 100, which is now I'm giving him 200. Now, how did I go ahead and come to this conclusion? Because I did my model to go ahead and read all of this hundreds of thousands of data multiple times, not 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. That's what we call it as training. We call it as model is getting trained. What is this training? We are giving the data for the model to train itself. So that training, we will go ahead and tell, hey model, can you repeat this model multiple times? So model says, okay, now I got the idea that whenever you want to go ahead and do a prediction, you tell me the distance that you have to travel, I'll give you the outcome. So based upon that outcome, it will go ahead and tell me, okay, so that I saw if the user is giving distance, trip distances from, say now from Marthahalli, he starts and gets dropped at airport. So it is about 20 kilometers. So 20 times 2 times 20, that is 40 plus some thousand, some 100. So 240 is the estimated cost. It is able to go ahead and do a prediction. But is it accurate? So we need to go ahead and look at some metrics. What is the accuracy? We need to go ahead and measure how reliable it is. Reliability. That means, can I rely on this? It should not go ahead and say, hey, the price is minus 200. It's unreliable. I cannot rely on minus 200. That means it's like this: someone taking taxi from uh, Marthahalli getting dropped at airport. The driver has to give 200 back to the person. No, no, that's not the way. So the point here is that we are taking the data, we are training our model, we are deploying it. So this is majorly the role of machine learning engineers where they develop the model. What is this code? So EDA means exploratory data analysis. So they go ahead and take the data, they go ahead and explore the data, they keep the data ready, prepare the data, and they develop the model out of it. They do the training out of it. Now you got a very simple logic, people. So from this, they will be able to get the function, how model is going to go ahead and tell the rental prices, how the model is going to get taxi fare, predicts. They do training to go ahead and make that function develop. I'll give you another example. If you go ahead and look at this AI generator, how is this AI generator is able to generate a deep oceans water with a shark? Because this model is trained with this information. This model is trained already with images that are oceans. This model is already trained the images of the shark. So based upon the input that is given, that is shark and oceans, this model is able to go and give you the outcome because it is already trained. It is giving you an outcome because it is already trained with hundreds of thousands of water images, 10,000 to 20,000 to 1 lakh images of water versus the shark images, hundreds of thousands of shark images. So now we are asked inside, inside. So it has already trained this model. So the trained model is giving you outcome. Like we are asking for a structured data. What is structured data here? Structured data here is we are asking to go ahead and give us the predicted fare price based upon the distance that is given. So it is able to go ahead and tell me that this could be the predicted price. Why? Because we have trained our model. This is structured. Structure means we are giving input, we are getting output, numbers, easily in the form of tabular format. But this is unstructured data, an image, unstructured data. So model development focuses on taking the input and giving you the expected output. Now this is one part of the story. If you have a coin, this is one side of the story. Now let's assume that there was a developer who developed this model and they have to deploy this model. So I received a call from my management saying that, Kumar, now developers have developed a wonderful taxi model called Taxi ChatGPT, for example. They developed a not ChatGPT, it will Taxi GPT. So when you go ahead and give input, the distance that is traveled, this tax GPT will take your input in the form of the distance that you want. I want to travel about, say, 10 kilometers. So it will go ahead and say 2 times 10 plus 100, 210 is the price that is expected that I'll go ahead and get the distance. Maybe if there is a toll gate, it will go ahead and add, since there is no toll gate, it is 0. If there is a toll gate, it might go ahead and add an extra 70. So it becomes 280. 280 is the fair price. So Taxi GPT have become very successful now. Now my company calls and says that, hey Siddharth, you need to join us, and you are required to go and deploy this in production so that everybody can use on the internet, like ChatGPT. We want this taxi GPT to be introduced. So now a big responsibility lies on my shoulders, that how will I go ahead and deploy this taxi GPT into the system so that people can use it. Infer means they can connect to the tax GPT and refer it. We want to deploy that code. We want to monitor that code. So big question for. Then I go ahead and talk to my developers. Good morning, my developers. What is that you have developed? They will tell you, okay, we have developed this way, we have developed the code, we have written the taxi frames, we have written. So they are developing a lot of code. They gave me a solution for it. That they want to go ahead and have one single way to deploy. Then, if you are from DevOps engineering people, I hope you must be aware of a concept called Docker. Participants, I hope you are aware of something called Dockers. How many of you know what is Dockers? This is a DevOps technology. How many of you don't know Dockers? How many of you don't know Dockers? If the answer is no, just type in no. If the answer is yes, yes. Okay. Now I'll put the story. If assuming that most of you are not aware, it's okay. So what is Docker? Docker is basically a technology, people. Docker is basically a technology, or in simple, it's a name of a company. You can consider it now. So what is this technology is? This technology says that you bring all of your code, whatever the code, machine learning code, application code, whatever you do, you get your code. Okay. And once you get your code, you build that code. Okay. Now, why is this very popular? I'll tell you the story from shipping industry. You have seen master containers in shipping, the master containers. I hope you are aware of this master containers in the ship. You know what they do? They dump all your objects. Maybe it's a vehicle, car, they transport from one country to another country. These are the containers that I'm referring to. Because instead of shipping one car by car, it's very risky, right? So they dump a layers of cars, maybe around 8 cars on four on the top, four on the bottom. So you might have seen cars shipping in containers. You might have seen it. What they do, they keep it in the place so that they can go ahead and ship from one country to another country. For example, if I have to ship Mitsubishi cars from Japan, so I have to use containers to ship from one place to another place. It's easy to ship a container which involves 8 cars than just shipping those 4 cars together or 8 cars together. So this is why containerization has really changed the way that the industry of shipping. The same logic is applied in Dockers. So what is Docker now? Docker is nothing but dock, D-O-C-K, dock. You dock it and you make it to work. That's why it became Docker. So what happens in the case of Docker? The same logic gets applied. So what Docker says, you get your own container, okay? You build your own container. In that container, what you do, you put anything what you want. So in this container, now what I'll do, I'll go ahead and open up, build a new container where I'll get the model from my machine learning engineers. I take the model. In order to run the model, I need GPT. So I'll put out the GPT. GPT is nothing but a library, and bundle it. This is a box. Now this is a container that is ready. Now this is how I built my own GPT model. And now my company decided to go ahead and use, say, Google Cloud, GKE, Google Cloud. So what we will do, we'll provision servers in Google Cloud. And what we do, we go ahead and deploy this application into the Google Cloud, or this image into Google Cloud. And once this image is ready, we will ask people, hey people, you go ahead and open up a browser and you type in www.taxigpt.com. The moment you go ahead and type in taxigpt.com, it resolves into Google Cloud. Inside the Google Cloud, you will see the three servers that are taking the request. Maybe the first server, or the second server, or maybe the third server is taking the request, where you go ahead and give the distance that you want to take from point A to point B. That will go ahead and hit your model. The model will say, hey, user has given input from Martha Hali, and he wants to get the distance traveled to you know airport, which is about 20-25 kilometers. So 25 is the input. So I already told you how it will go and calculate the output. It will go and calculate based upon the model two times the distance 20, 25, 50 plus the number 100. So the price expected to be given as 250. Maybe if there is a toll task, add extra 70, so it becomes 320. So the expected output for the user is going to be in the form of 320. So when the user said, I want to travel a distance of 25 kilometers with a toll tax, yes, the expected price the model will go and tell is about 320 INR. See, how did I go ahead and build a model right from scratch? I took a model, deploy that model, and I'm giving input www.taxigpt with the distance is equal to 25 kilometers. And if there is any toll tax, I'll check one. Then the total distance is 320. How? In the back end, what is happening? The model is going to hit the taxi GPT. The model is hitting the taxi GPT inside the Google Cloud platform, and it is giving me the output. So developers are making the changes here. I'm deploying it. Now this process is now called MLOps. Machine learning team is developing the code, and I as an ops guy deploying the code. So this is what companies are expecting you to come with, that skill, that you come with a skill where we have developers with us. You go ahead and deploy this code. For this, you need to understand certain key concepts like containerization, Dockers, Kubernetes. I know that there are a lot of questions. I would request you give me another 2 minutes more, and I'll start taking a question. Can I request people to just check their audio? Right. So participants, now you don't need to have 100% of machine learning model. You don't need to understand how this process takes place. But it would be good if you have some basic idea about it, because there are a lot of terms and terminology that will be available. So my suggestion for all of you, if you want to go ahead and build career on MLOps, certain basic skills on DevOps is a must, like containerization, Dockers. You need to build your skills on Dockers. You need to build skills thoroughly on Kubernetes. You need to build concepts around CI/CD. These skills you will go ahead and use against the machine learning model ML. So you need to have a little bit about what is training, model training. You need to understand how to write a model, because nobody is going to write a model for you. You yourself have to write the model. So certain portion of your machine learning to be learned. So I give priority, that is 30% of learning should be focused to understand the terms and terminologies in the machine learning model, but the 70% of the skill should be garnered around your machine learning model. So if you are into containerization concepts, and if you want to go ahead and evolve onto the containerization using, then the game changer in this space is none other than Kubeflow. Kubernetes flow, Kubeflow is the one that will go ahead and help you to achieve your model training, model development, and deployment into MLOps. So MLOps is driven by this Kubernetes component called Kubeflow. So that means if you want to go ahead and build a skill as an MLOps engineer, you need to have strong skill of Kubernetes, Docker, containerization, along with Kubeflow. So Kubeflow is the one that will go ahead and drive your machine learning model development. You see, I have been writing models, I've been developing models, and I've been deploying models on the Kubeflow. This is a Kubeflow pipeline. We go ahead and write experiments. We go ahead and deploy that experiment. We go ahead and do the prediction. We go ahead and get the outcome. So I'm getting an outcome. So this is a model that is able to do a prediction, a price prediction. So to deploy it, we are writing the code behind it. So you see how the code is written. This involves containerization using Dockers. This involves writing the code in Python. This involves deployments and Dockerization. Okay, so participants, now quick summary. If you want to see yourself in a very stable job for the next 10 years, not even 5 years, next 10 years, enter into the space of machine learning and AI. Machine learning AI ops focuses on taking the developed models and getting them into cloud practices using DevOps practices. So here is a space for all of you. Build certain skills in the machine learning practices and thoroughly build your skills on DevOps engineering backed solutions so that you can build these skills together and become an MLOps engineer. So you have to have strong skills in DevOps engineering based solutions like Docker, containerization, Kubernetes, CI/CD pipelines to get build your skills on Kubernetes Kubeflow, a little bit of machine learning practices that will help you to become an MLOps engineer. So that is a roadmap for your next 10 years. A lot of companies are expecting their existing DevOps engineers to get turned into MLOps engineers, and I'm one example for you. I started my career as a DevOps engineer. I'm now a full-length machine learning engineer, MLOps engineer. So you have also a great chance whether you come from a background from development, non-development. If you have skills in ML and deploy that models, then you will be able to go ahead and be a right fit for the organizations. I hope this demonstration has given you a little idea and exposure to the MLOps capabilities. If it is, please give me a quick round of thumbs up into the chat and do let me know with your questions because the next part of the discussion we will go ahead and take up the questions. So before that, if you have understood this entire discussion, may I have your quick round of confirmation by typing yes? Okay. Now that you have understood a little about MLOps, I know it is not that easy to understand in one go. It takes a lot of time, but you might have joined this discussion or demo with certain questions in your mind. So if you have some questions, please feel free to ask me, even if it is a basic question, that's fine. I'm ready to take it. But what please I would request you is put up your name, your experience, what is that you are into, so that I can go and understand your skill sets and answer accordingly. And be very precise about it. Yeah, can we get started to take your questions and queries? Yep. Participants may have your questions and queries. I'm ready to spend good amount of time with you to answer all your questions and queries. In
Yeah.
one
Hi,
go.
Siddharth. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, please.
Hi, Siddharth. Am I audible? Myself, Santosh.
Yes, audible.
Okay. I have already 7 plus of experience into these DevOps. So, hello.
Yes, Santosh, you can continue. I'm listening to
Yeah.
your question.
Okay. So I searched in the LinkedIn and other search engines so that I know it's an initial level. I saw your all the syllabus things and also. So my question is like they are asking about NLP models or something the things. So you, in the future maybe after 4 to 5 classes, I would like to go with the synopsis or maybe the requirement what they are asking in the other whatever the fortune companies so that we can check there and then what are the requirements so that we can adopt into not about the syllabus. I am talking about the criteria for the competence I'm talking about. So this is my question, and almost all DevOps topics are there except that ML topics. So this is my question. I think I you have understood that. So I'm asking about the competency level because of this experience, so that we should compete and then we can complete that in terms of interview I'm talking about. Thanks.
Thanks. So I'll make it very easy. Let's imagine I am a DevOps engineer for a minute. I have all the skills of Docker, Kubernetes, containerization. Now, company calls me and say, "Hey, we are introducing you to the machine learning engineers who are developing the code for you." Now, as a DevOps engineer, my responsibility is to deploy it. What they're giving me, maybe an LLP, natural language processing model, or an image classification model, or a linear regression model, or some kind of video audio model, or a GPT model. That part will be very, very, very much less for me, because for me, anything that you call it as ML, NLP, chat GPT model, anything model is always for me or for you, you should go and see that is in the form of a code. So my suggestion, if you ask me, with my experience working in this, just look at that as a code only. Whether it is an NLP model, whether it is LLM model, whether it is a machine learning model, whether it is a prediction model, just look at that code. And then you focus to deploy that code. Your target should be on the deployment side. Now spend 70% of your skill sets on this. Okay, now the other way I'll answer. If you want to go ahead and learn about the other skills like NLP, you want to go ahead and build about logistic regression, linear regression, algorithms, then you don't need to learn this part. You have to remain in ML, where you have to understand what is machine learning. You need to understand what is machine learning model, how to write a Python code, how to develop a Python module, how to write the LLM models. This is what is your skill, where you need to have very, very strong skills of Python programming. You need to be very, you become not a MLOps engineer, but you become an ML engineer, where you write a code. Now this is something, a choice a person has. So if you want to go ahead and enter into machine learning model, where you want to write the code for model development and deployments, model development only, then you can remain in ML, where you need to understand about classifications involving PyTorch. You need to understand about TensorFlow. You need to understand about, these are the skills that will make you an ML engineer. But we are targeting not on the ML engineer, we are targeting on the MLOps part, where the ops part is given criteria, where we focus on deploying. For this, you don't need to know much of the MLOps, ML. You don't need to. So just visualize from the very high level overview that whatever that is given to you is just a code that is given to you. So you are targeting to Dockerize that code and focus on deploying that code. If you go in this approach, then you have a great way to make an entry into MLOps. Or if you want to remain on the ML part, then you go ahead and build your skills on machine learning model development, writing the model development code, LLM models, ML and AI, deep learning. You have to enter into that segment. That segment, if you don't come from a programming background, that's going to be quite challenging to you. So just an input, but not that you have to go ahead and follow me. There are two routes for you. ML route, where full development, full programming, full algorithms. You need to be very good in algorithms, you need to be good in Python, you need to be good in statistics. Or the other side, technical, Dockerization, containerization, kubeflow, deployments, pipeline. This is what in the ops part. So now you stand at the road and decide which route to take. Santosh, I hope this question that was posted to me, I tried to give an explanation. Now take some time and
Yes,
decide
Siddharth.
it.
Yeah, that's fine, Siddharth. Maybe in after 2 or 3 classes, I would like to go with any job requirement portal so that we can discuss on exactly MLOps. Not for this now; it's too early. So in the future, maybe for 10 to 20 minutes, we will discuss in the later classes. Maybe
Yeah,
that
yeah, definitely.
suits.
That is, I'll be very happy because you will get a clear picture from that discussion. Fair. Any other question, participants? Participants, I don't see people asking any questions. When I go to demos, I see people are lined up, people are queuing up with their questions, because see, I'll tell you the reason why. You had some thoughts in your mind, you made some time on a Saturday morning to join these sessions. Post the session, if you don't get a chance to get all your queries cleared, then what is the purpose of joining the session? So I am helping you because I come from that background and I know what mistakes you make, what mistakes you should not do, to what mistakes you can avoid, so that you will be able to take a decision. And nowhere I'm not saying this is a course for everyone joining the session. No, this is not the course for everyone. This is a way to make an entry into IT industry by taking the latest adaptation to machine learning and ops model. But this is not the course for everyone. So you decide whether this is a course or no based upon certain queries that you have in your mind. So ask your questions, get your answers, you do your research, then take a decision. Please, participants, I'm with you.
Hi Siddharth, Rakesh this side. I am a DevOps engineer, and so rather DevOps engineer, I transformed my career to DevSecOps engineer. So as MLOps is picking up and the market, and as we are also going to have the sessions, right? So I know that there will be CI/CD flow for the MLOps, and those things will be there. But as part of the security and as part of the quality gates, as part of the like the add-ons of the DevOps engineer. Are you also going to are you also going to have those sessions as well, like the security part, like how the code quality gets, and how the code scan, uh, how the like the code coverage part, all those things are also are these parts, or it's just like the flow that how this should work?
No, I'll tell you, I'll be very honest with you. Thank you for bringing this discussion. See, the concept of ML flow has been a very recent, like hardly I would say not even maybe 3 to 4 years or just 3 years, rapidly companies are picking up. The security module in DevOps engineering is very strong. But as of now, when you look at the machine learning model development and deployment and security, that part is still a gray area for a lot of companies. They're still evaluating. And to be very, very honest, we don't have any ready-made tool as of now into the market that can help MLOps with security part as of now. So it is all that whatever the security resources that a company has, they're using it. So very simple point is that if you are into the DevOps and if you are into the security part, I would strongly suggest you remain in that space because that is also a very open space for you to play. But when you come into MLOps, that part is very different because there are still no security modules as of now. As on date, we don't have any great tools. So that security part is not yet evolved. Maybe in future it will evolve, but as of now, the security around machine learning models have been not evolving, but they will evolve. So the simplest suggestion is we will go ahead and focus on the deployment capabilities, automation, Kubernetes, Dockerization, and whatever the available security modules will consider. But what your ask was all about quality gates, Sonar Cube, scanning, all that is part of application development like a Java or a .NET based applications that you develop and you scan. I'm not going into that module. Okay, helpful, Rusty?
Yeah, yeah, Siddharth, yeah, that is. I'll last my last question. Yeah, it's good that you completely shared that. Okay, no tool has been still yet to be developed in the market because it's just a baby burn just now. Um, yeah, last question. I'll just a small question I'll put. So it's about the infrastructure, like. So we know like how this Kubernetes and the specifications and what should be the Docker size, like my image size, or all those things we know as part of the DevOps cycle. But for this, maybe you maybe cover in your future sessions. But small question like because I have a very gray area on that particular thing, because a large number of data is coming, all right, and also they are the building of the models will be there, right? Is this we need strong infrastructure, means, larger than the application deployments or larger application build or application compilation, than the means like our the model needs more resources for those, like for the deployment as well as for the building purpose.
Okay, fair. So I'll answer your question in two parts. First part, for your learning practices. For learning, that means you start your journey, you start today, you want to learn something. So for learning practices, if you go and use infrastructure on cloud, by the end of the training, you will get something around 80,000, 90,000, 1 lakh bill getting generated in your cloud accounts. So cloud is very open space for us to go and handle the infrastructure. So I don't recommend at this moment the cloud infrastructure as a learning module. So what you do, you go ahead and build everything on your local machine. So you build on your local machine. See, I'm using my local machine. So the idea is to learn how to go ahead and build models and develop the models, deploy the models on local machine with, what is the price? Zero. You will not even get 1 rupee billed for it. That is for your learning practice. Now, to answer your question, now I have to take you into the cloud. Once you go into the cloud, what happens? Cloud is an open space. You can scale up, you can scale it out. So that is where the infrastructure capabilities are taken care by your cloud system, where you go ahead and manage via terraforming. So you need to go ahead and build skills around Terraform to handle it. So one part for your learning practice, you go ahead and use your local setup. For cloud practice, you go ahead and handle via terraforming into the cloud practices. That is my answer for you. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Yeah, we'll discuss more into it like in coming sessions. Yeah.
Right. Next,
Thanks
I
for
see
your.
a question. Welcome, Rusty. What is the difference between DevSecOps and MLOps? Both are different. DevSecOps targets your security automation towards your DevOps engineering. MLOps is taking your built models and deploying them into cloud using the services like Dockerization, containerization, Kubernetes, more of the ops part. This is more of the security part, right? So that I hope Raj that answers your question. Next question, please. Yes, Subhashini.
Yeah, Siddharth. So MLOps supports only Python or any other languages?
At this moment, the easiest route that we can take for a non-developer segment, considering that we have developers as well as non-developers, the easiest thing is to do Python. Beyond Python, if you go, there is no great support, there is no great community built, and there are no basically there are no great modules around other uh, languages. But Python has a lot of supported languages like Apache Spark, machine learning libraries, Kubeflow, DAGs. A lot of modules are developed around it. So I give number one priority to Python, and most of the models that you will get to see are also built in Python. 90% of the chances that you will definitely come across Python only.
Okay. So here
Yes,
also
Siddharth.
we build the source code and deploy it into containers like that, Siddharth.
Correct. If you open up, I'll show you my code. My source code, my model development is done. The code is done in Python. This is a Python code. You can see .py file. I'm using Python code and developing the model. So strongly suggesting Python code for developing the models. But it's only 30%. I'll not go because if you go into model development, that itself will take years to build that skill. No, we are not building the model. We are just taking some problem statement, trying to build a model around it, but we'll focus more on the deployment part using Kubeflow.
Okay, okay. Okay, thank you.
Welcome, appreciate. Yes, next question, please. Okay, so participants, then if you have no questions for me, even I'm good for the day, then can
Yes,
we
Siddharth.
conclude the
Yes.
session? Yes, yes, I'm with you.
Yeah, hello, Siddharth. Yeah, regarding class schedule, 9:30 a.m. is regularly or only weekend?
Okay, I'll tell you the secret. I
Uh,
was just called in yesterday afternoon to discuss about that we have a demo for tomorrow morning at 9:30. That's all the information that was given to me. Beyond the class schedule, everything yet to be decided after collective feedback is taken. Okay,
mm, okay.
welcome. Yeah, next question. Okay, looks like people are done with the question. So let me summarize. Once again, I thank everyone for joining this part of the demo. And the primary aim in this discussion was to set a clear picture that a technology or an adaptance or a process like MLOps is picking up a lot because DevOps has already been adapted by a lot of companies. So the same concepts of DevOps are being getting applied into the machine learning model. So a machine learning model is a skill that is going to be developed by your machine learning developers. So they write the code for solving a problem in the form of model development they do, and that developed models are applied with the help of DevOps engineering, CI/CD pipelines, and released into environments like cloud using Kubernetes. So the primary aim of this MLOps is to build skills around machine learning a little bit and full length on the ops part. So this is what exactly the course will also drive for helping you to become an MLOps engineer. So with that, I'll conclude the session. So once again, thank you everyone for joining. And if you have any further queries technically, you can reach out to us. You can drop your queries here, and hope that we will be able to resolve at the earliest. So once again, thank you everyone. This side Siddharth dropping off for the day. Thank you.